Welcome to Gracefully Graying. I am co-founder Lori Bloom. Explore a platform of tips, trends, news, and informative discussions for you and your loved ones. Whether you're 50 and over or way over, find us on gracefullygraying.com, YouTube, and social media. Enjoy this live stream discussion. Welcome, everyone, to this next edition of Gracefully Graying Tuesday live stream. Today, we are happy to welcome Mike Michel, founder of CareTrainR, and he's going to explain what that is. And welcome, Michel. Great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you again, Laurie.
So let us know what your background is, and that'll give everybody a good sense of what you do. What's your background?
My background is in health science and pre-physical therapy. I've worked in the home care industry and other healthcare settings for quite some time, and I'm just here to help the geriatric population age well, gracefully.
Okay, so what led you to create CareTrainR?
You know what? It's a crazy story, but the short version of it all is that I had to. I was providing care for a friend, and I attempted to solve the timely process of onboarding new individuals coming into the home, caregivers essentially. And with the high turnover in the industry, which is currently at 60% within 90 days, my body shut down. I had to step away for 4 days. I slept for 4 days, only got up twice to urinate, and it was like, wow, I have to do something different because this space has not changed in the last 2 decades. So from there, I created the CareTrainR app to essentially quickly onboard new aides coming into the home and save all of us as caregivers some time from having to do that tedious task.
Right. So let's talk about caregivers. You know, there are family caregivers. There are caregivers that families hire to help their loved ones. Talk about that.
Yes, and so once again, there's professional caregivers and there's care partners, family caregivers, and family caregivers are essentially the ones that have this burden, or well, not the burden, have this tedious task of having to ensure that everything is put together, and we're learning everything on the fly. But once again, we have to hire, fire, coordinate, and it affects this high turnover in the industry does affect families, because when you go out and hire private aides or aides from agencies, you're promised something. And one of those things that you're promised is that you're going to have this consistency. And because of the high turnover, agencies this year hired 81 caregivers. 81. And by the end of the year, 61% of them won't be with them. So out of six in every 10 will no longer be with this agency. And that affects you as a family caregiver, because you're going to see this turnover, because that's where you're getting your supply and demand from. So essentially, we just want to ensure that we can officially take something off your to-do list. And that's something that we all have problems with as caregivers, this tedious to-do list that never ends.
Right. Why do you think, okay, I mean, this could be very obvious, but why such the high turnover rate? I mean, explain that to us.
Well, Laurie, it's obvious to some sense, but it's deeper than that. The reason why we have such a high turnover is definitely pay from the professional side. Definitely pay. Professional caregivers aren't set up for success how they once were. Think about 20 years ago, individuals were taking 8 months of schooling, right? They were being put in place to just climb a corporate ladder, right? So they were being molded to filter through the healthcare industry. But now that 8 months is dwindled down into 2, maybe 3 weeks of schooling. And that's all dwindled down to ADLs, just activities of daily living. So you're not set up the same way. There's no progression. And, you're not giving these individuals a living wage. And then the pandemic absolutely expedited everything to show you that this is a real problem, because people started to receive burnout.
Right.
It was just too much.
Yeah. Okay. ADLs, activities of daily living. You're saying the education of caretakers, caregivers it's a few weeks as opposed to what it used to be?
Yes. If you think about 2 decades ago, maybe even 3, caregivers coming into the space took 8 months of schooling, right? So they were the Mars, that's how to do your charts as nursing. They show you how to do phlebotomy. They showed you how to do so many variations of things because they wanted you to climb the ladder, become an LPN, become a nurse, become a PRN. Now you're just getting these 2-3 weeks of schooling, 72 hours, and it's like you go out into the field, and because of the high turnover, they want to filter people into the industry so fast. That's what's ultimately, you're not setting me up for success. So by the time I get into the industry, I'm not being set up for success from you on the corporate level. And then when I go to this agency or these industries, organizations that send me out, is not complete transparency.
Right. Wow. Okay. And also, I mean, from what you just described, their capabilities are different now. It's just more basic now.
Absolutely. And everyone yells out personalization, that we personalize things. And honestly, like I said, I've worked in the industry for quite some time. I've been the boots on the ground, and I've seen what happens. And, some individuals may say that you're going to get personalization of this and that and the third. But how I've seen it work out is, Lori, if you hire me and you sending me out to Jack's house, if I call out, you're not filtering to see who's the next best candidate. You're just trying to put a warm body there. So you're going to call out whoever can. And that's not personalization. So we just have to be honest with ourselves and say we can't personalize everything. That's why I believe we have to shift the dynamics and look inside out and put the dynamics of the control back into the family's hand. And that's my methodology, to put the control back into the family's hand, because these are the individuals who can update you quickly. These are the individuals who can give you transparency, at least from the caregiver's perspective. Because if I have to go into the house figuring out what I have to do, how I have to do it, because I'm not getting it from the agency, I mean, who better than do it than the family themselves? Right.
And then you're not starting from zero. So that brings us to your app, CareTrainR. So tell us about the features of your app and why it's so important for families and caregivers to use this.
Certainly. When you really look at the benefits and the problem that we're solving, the number one problem that we want to solve is the tedious task of you having to regurgitate the same information, right? So let's talk about those benefits. First, families can create a profile. It's more of an intimate detail, right? In the profile section, you can tell us more about your loved one. Give us medications. We know that's a big thing in this space. And then tell us about your doctors. That's currently done with physical binders.
Right.
Next, you move over to our calendar feature, in which families are allowed to put in your loved one's daily routines. Dad gets up at this time, he wakes up at this time, he has medication at this time, he exercises at this time. And then one-off events. And this is currently done with whiteboards and sticky notes, right? You see the old dynamic that I'm shifting away from, and it's hard to update. And we'll get to the importance of documentation at the end. Next, you'll go over to our training walkthrough module, right? And what that is done is divided into 4 sections of the home, and families can create multiple 90-second clips displaying how care is provided for their loved one in their home in that particular room, right? And this eliminates the need to physically be present, because many of us are working caregivers. We work 9 to 5. We have to keep the lights on, right? And the only thing that truly gives you peace of mind is knowing that I personally told this person what to do and how to do it, to ensure that, because they're not getting it from the company organization that they're coming from, right? So that eliminates that, saving you tremendous amount of time altogether. Once that's done, you share it with a new aide, a new caregiver coming into the house. That person can then see the entire care team's care notes, prior and past, and then they can share real-time care notes back with you, right? So that's essentially what it does, and the benefits of the old way versus the new modern way. And what I want them to think of is, we ultimately want to get to the point where we're getting families compensated for the work they do. And you need to begin to think about the way that we're documenting things, right? Because no Medicare, no Humana, nobody's going to call you and say, hey, can you fax over the information that's in your binder, right? So we have to streamline certain things for us to get to a certain point in this industry, in this space that hasn't been changed for the last 2 decades.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's a great tool for just, basically sharing information. So you're not repeating it. Everybody's on the same page, correct?
That is absolutely correct. We're focused on onboarding and training. That's specifically those 2 things, and putting the control back into your hand, because you are going to be the one to spend 3 hours in the emergency room if your loved one goes there over the weekend. And guess who's going to spend the next 3-4 hours the next day trying to update my primary care doctor, everyone in my care circle? It's you. So why not utilize something that can allow you to do that?
Right. Okay. So what are the steps for someone to get the app?
Certainly. You can find us on the App Store. Right now, we're currently available for iOS. We've been having problems with Androids. You go on iOS, the App Store, you download CareTrainR. That's CareTrainR. CareTrainR, you download it. Right now, you have a 30-day trial period. Yeah, you have a 30-day trial period. You input your information through those 4 steps that I just mentioned. And voila, it's easy peasy. It's done within 15, 20 minutes. And I think this is certainly important for those individuals who want to know what is going on with their parents, because you having a better understanding of how your parents' day looks like, you have a better gauge of holding the caregivers coming in accountable. Well, I didn't receive a note at this time, or why is dad not doing this? I'm used to it by now.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, it's not necessarily the app, like it's not like, seniors are going to be downloading the app, but it's their kids that are downloading it.
That is absolutely
coordinate
correct.
all of the help, all of the, the caregivers. So that everybody, again, is on the same page.
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah. So there is a minimal cost for the app, but obviously, by investing in that minimal cost, I mean, what's the value of that? The
value of let's say 2 Starbucks coffees, right? $12.99.
Okay.
Right? 2 Starbucks coffees. The value of this is 2 things. My body shut down as a caregiver, right? From burnout, essentially attempting to do this one thing, this primary thing, which is ensure that everyone that provided care for my friend coordinated, communicated, and knew exactly what to do from my lips, right? Because so the value proposition for you guys is ensure that that's one thing that we cannot get back is time, saving you time from having to do this in any point in time in the month.
Right.
I can have 7 caregivers, right? And I've displayed this on social media. I've had 7 caregivers that came out to provide care in this home. And every single time I would spend at least an hour and a half with each individual.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And what this does is this trickled it down to me providing this information one time and sharing it. And now it's collaboration. Team collaboration is important. Now the caregivers can tell me when things are changing because they're there more than I am. And then I can be updating the things as they trigger along, because what happens when an agency comes out or an organization comes out, the nurse comes out and do the initial assessment. And I want to tell you now, the ratio is 1 to 35. One social worker has 1 to 35 clients, and then that continues to increase.
Wow.
So when you have the initial onboarding, yes, the care plan is current. But what happens in this industry? Things change constantly, daily, weekly, right? Who's keeping up with those changes? So by the time we get to month 3 or month 2 or month 1, so much has changed that care plan is now out of date.
Right.
You as a consumer have to ensure that stays updated. That is what this allows it to do. Ensure that your care plan remains updated, because it's 2 eyes and team collaboration that's going on between you and the provider that's coming in, the caregiver that's coming in.
Right. I mean, and that has to do with medical appointments that the senior has, the loved one has. It has to do with medication. That could change week to week. It could, right? Like
Absolutely. And one of the big things in the industry is transitioning, which is transporting. So if I'm shifting you from the bed to the chair, if you go into a home right now, Lori, and you see a cane, you see a sliding board, and you see a walker, you walk into the home, which one do you use?
Right.
Exactly. That's my point right there. You don't know, because things have changed and progressed so much that this person could have been using the cane. Now they're using the walker. Right. They could have fell. Now they're using the sliding board. Whose job is it to clarify that?
Right.
Owners do not know that because they're not constantly there. Right. Caregivers coming in have to guess. The best thing that a person can do that's hiring outside help is provide clarity and not give that individual too much to think about, in the sense of not that they're incompetent, But the fact that you have to realize that these individuals go to multiple people and they have multiple information to remember. Not only that, a multitude of these individuals are working multiple jobs. Right. So you have to take, this is the stress factor. Caregiver burnout is being emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion. You need to take the mental portion out of giving them so much to think about.
Right, right. So important. Mike, how much is this app?
$12.99.
Okay, like you said, 2 Starbucks.
2 Starbucks.
Okay. And you have a support team for people using the app if they need help, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Guys, where we're at, I will let you know now. Everything that I've done thus far has been self-funded, right? And I have been there, I've experienced it, and the support team is myself, and I have co-founders and another support team that will help you guys get through anything. But as of now, I am in it with you guys. I am the one that's going to answer your calls. When you email me, I'm the one that's replying back. Any troubleshooting that needs to happen, I will be there.
That's great. It's good for people to know. So, okay, how can people get a hold of you at CareTrainR?
Certainly. Please email me at Mike, M-I-K-E, @CareTrainR.com. Guys, you can find me on social media, all the social media platforms as well. I think bringing humor to an area that, is not quite frankly a place to smile about. I think bringing awareness and, more importantly, solutions to the problems that caregivers have is important to me. So you guys can find me on all the platforms and email me directly.
Okay, so that is great. I think you're providing a great service and a great product for people. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. So our time has run out. I feel like we could keep talking about the specifics of it. So we'll have you back another time. But to the Gracefully Graying audience, thanks for joining us. And thank you to our sponsors. To our viewers, find us on gracefullygraying.com and on our social media platforms. So Mike, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys. When caregivers change, care shouldn't. I essentially believe that, and I think we can stand up and make a change with that.
Definitely. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, dear.